And so why are we continuing to rehash this if y'all are just going to tell us how it is? Like, you should have just sent an email. If I was starting all over again, I would have started collecting my patients' emails or encouraging them to follow me on social media the minute I decided that I was going to leave.
Mhm.
I like to travel. I like to garden. I like to spend time outside. Like, this isn't my whole life. And so I'm like, I want time to do all the things. We only get so much time here on this earth. Working just for the sake of working is not part of my life plan.
Welcome to DPC Life, the podcast where independent doctors share real stories, bold ideas, and the freedom of doing medicine on your own terms. I'm your host, Dr. Ann Gonzalez, and together we'll explore the wins, the struggles, and everything in between. Let's dive in. So today, my guest is Dr. Kashiti Long of Long Health and Wellness in Charlotte, North Carolina, which is just a little ways away from me.
Yeah.
And she is internal medicine and lifestyle medicine boarded. And her practice is called Long Health and Wellness and opened earlier this year, correct?
Yes, in January.
Let's start with how you found DPC and why you went this crazy route.
I found DPC via a newspaper article, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. My mom sent me a newspaper article about a practice opening in Tampa because it was the Tampa Bay Times because she was still in Florida. So this might have actually been a little bit longer than 5 or 6 years ago. It was a practice opening and they were doing a subscription model, and they described how she was going to shoot for 600 patients and going to charge $100 a month. And I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And I just kind of was like, I don't want to open a practice, and it doesn't really matter. But then that was when I was working at a FQHC. And so the days were long and I saw like 25 patients a day. And so in my mind, I was like, this isn't my forever job. This is just for loan repayment. So my next job, that'll be the good job. So then I ended up working for a practice here outside of Charlotte in Fort Mill that was owned by one of the hospital systems. And it was better. Initially, they wanted me to see like 18 to 20 people a day. And there was some flexibility in terms of having like one day off a week and da 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 da. And so it was fine, built the patient panel. But then it got to the point where they're like, oh, we don't believe in closing your patient panel. So, like, infinite growth or something. And so the wait times just kept getting longer. And then they're like, well, we need you to see more like 22 people a day. And then it was, okay, we want to bring on a nurse practitioner that we want you to supervise. And it just kept being like more and more and more. And while all that was going on, I was seeing other people start DPCs and just hearing about like the practice model, just it kept coming up. And I'm a person that believes if things keep coming up, if you keep seeing things, then it's like a sign. And so at one point I was like, okay, after I pay my student loans off and save up this huge nest egg where I am financially independent, blah, 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 then maybe I'll start my DPC in like 5, 10, 15 years, something like that. And then as the demands of the corporate style practice kept continuing, I was like, do I really need to be financially independent just to open this practice? How much money do I need to save? So then I talked to my finance guy, and he was like, oh, well, you should save this amount so that you can pay your bills for at least a year while you're building this practice. And so then I started saving, and it was still going to be, I didn't have an exact date when he and I had that conversation. But then in 2023, the summer of 2023, there were some conversations had between administration and the physicians at my office where we were basically saying one thing and they were saying, well, I know you feel like that, but we think blah, 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 blah. And we're like, but no, that's not what we want. And then at the end of the last meeting that we had with them, it was like, you're not getting this. This is what the system wants. And the system said that this is how we're doing it. So you're just going to have to deal with it. And at that point, I felt like, well, why did we have all these meetings if that's what y'all were going to say in the inter? Like, that was like the third time we met about the issue. And so why are we continuing to rehash this if y'all are just going to tell us how it is? Like, you should have just sent an email. And so that was when I was like, okay, let me take this DPC thing a bit more seriously. So that was most of the journey.
So that was 2023, you said.
Yeah. So that was summer 2023. And then spring 2024, I went to the DPC Nuts and Bolts conference. And then in June 2024, I went to the DPC Summit. That was in Texas. And at the end of that summit, I was like, I'm going to open my DPC in January.
Good for you.
So they were very motivating.
Yes.
I went from like a 2 or 3 year timeline to 6 months.
Amazing. So in that
Yeah.
6 months, how long did you have to work out your contract?
I had a 90-day notice requirement on mine. And I honestly would have put in my notice when I came back from the conference just to give them more time to find someone because I'm a caring person like that. However, another doc at my office, she put in her notice that same week. And I was like, oh, both of us can't quit at the same time. And I felt like I was really conflicted about it. Like, I was like, oh man, everybody's going to freak out if I put my notice in and I don't want to stress everybody out, blah, blah, blah. So also caring more about the corporate system that doesn't care about me. So basically we started interviewing people for her position. And like the week after we found somebody to take her spot, I put my notice in. And that was like borderline, like exactly 3 months notice.
Okay, good. They still freaked out, I'm sure.
Admin people probably did, but like they didn't give me, I was concerned they were going to give me a hard time about it, but they were actually like, okay, well, we understand. And I was like, really? Y'all do?
Well, something's wrong then, right?
One guy was like, I really would like to sit down with you so we can talk one on one about what we could have done better and blah, blah, blah. I didn't want to meet with him though. So I just didn't respond to the email because I mean, there's nothing you could do, sir. It was above him. So I'm like, no, there's no point in wasting my time like that.
Yep. And so what about your colleagues? What did they say?
The one colleague who had put in her notice, she was already gone because she didn't even give them 3 month notice. She gave like 6 week notice and was like, yeah, better figure it out. I was like, can you do that? But
Well, she did.
the other colleague that I had, he is somebody who had been with the practice for like 20 something years. And he was like, yeah, I mean, I see what are you going to do? And I told him and he was like, yeah, I just can't see figuring out how to do all that. He's a little technology illiterate. And he's like, yeah, I think you'll do well. So, I mean, he was supportive enough. He's like, oh man. But he kind of said that he saw it coming too. So I was just like, okay, well,
okay. You're giving off the vibes.
I'm glad you're not like freaking out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
I mean,
boy.
overall, I feel like the staff was pretty supportive when I told them what I was doing. The office manager, she was a little more like, but what can you do?
Right. Okay. So 6 months. And did you feel like you were rushed 6 months to opening, or you felt like, okay, this was a pretty good amount of time?
So overall, I think things moved fairly swiftly. There were 2 things that were kind of delayed. Like I was practicing in South Carolina, so I only had a South Carolina license. So I had to get a North Carolina license because my office needed to be 15 miles away from where I was working, non-compete. And I wanted to work in North Carolina anyways because I live in Charlotte. And so getting a North Carolina medical license took 6 months. Luckily, I had applied for it when I came back from the first conference in March/April, and they approved it took 5 months because they approved it in September. And I needed the North Carolina license before I could apply for the PLLC with the state to like be able to open a practice. But that part was actually quick. Like once the license came through, the PLLC was approved within a couple of weeks. So the license was a little bit of a holdup. And then malpractice, I feel like there was a lot of emails back and forth and filling out this application and waiting to hear back for the quotes. Cause I think I got like 3 or 4 quotes. So that maybe took like 3 or 4 weeks, but everything else had like a really fast turnaround. And finding the right office space, I would just go on my days off to look at office spaces. Like I would Google office space for lease. And I looked at a couple different styles of spaces, like the suite style offices that are like a bunch of people doing things in like one room spaces versus like the actual offices where you have like a little lobby and then an exam room, bathroom, and things that are actually designated medical offices. I did not get an office that was officially in like a medical building or medical office park because those were much more expensive. Like, I would say maybe like 40, $45 a square foot or more for it. And then they tended to be large.
Mm.
So they're like wanting me to rent spaces that are like 1,500, 2,000, 3,000 square foot. I'm like, I am one person. I will have patients here one at a time. I don't need 3,000 square feet and you're charging $5,000 a month or $6,000 a month.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting my office off of not Craigslist. What's the other one? Facebook Marketplace.
Yep.
So that was surprising. And I wasn't looking at Facebook Marketplace initially. And then my mom, of course, was like, have you checked Facebook Market? They have everything on there. I was like, but then I went and I actually toured, I want to say like 3 or 4 offices from Facebook Marketplace before I found this one.
Mm-hmm.
So I think those were the things that took the most effort. And then everything else was kind of like, you just sign up online. Like I joined the DPC Alliance and got in with the GPO and created all these accounts for different things. It really, I don't know, it didn't feel that rushed to me.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe because I'd been thinking about it for years, I kind of had like rough ideas in my head. And then the other thing is like, I couldn't really tell anybody where I was going. And so I was starting from zero basically. And that meant that I could kind of grow slowly. So I was like, whatever I haven't figured out yet, I'll just figure it out as I go.
Which is a good way to approach things, especially when you're starting out, because what are you going to do, right?
Right.
Yeah. So the place that you're in currently, that's the place you started in, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
And so you're
I
subleasing
thought
a room?
about,
Is that right?
no.
Oh,
So this is an office suite. It has like my office with my desk, and I have like a bookshelf and printer and stuff. And I have an exam room, a bathroom, a little waiting area. And then there's another room that I was using for storage, but I'm actually now renting it out to help me with the rent. And so the person renting it is a lab tech who's trying to start like a mobile lab business.
oh, cool.
So I was like, okay, sounds fine to me.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so she is now covering about 1/3 of the rent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah. Does she draw labs
So
for you?
she does not. So I send everybody to LabCorp, just because she's only been here for a month
Oh.
and we haven't like worked out anything for her to actually draw for me. She's also not really here when I'm here. Like she's here more in the evenings and on the weekends. And so I barely even see her.
Well, that works out then.
Right.
Yeah, very convenient. And so you said you started out with 0 patients. And so how did you go about finding your patients?
My first patient actually found me when she found out I was leaving. She followed my social media and she signed up on her own. So I guess technically I started with one because I think I saw her maybe a week after I opened. And then in that first month or so, I had a handful of other patients find me. And then I've been finding patients by a lot of networking and social media activities.
Mm-hmm.
So I joined the Chamber of Commerce and I was going to their events. Like they have a coffee on Tuesday mornings twice a month. They have like networking after 5, I think once a month. So in the beginning, I was going to all of those. And then from there, talking to people, they would invite me to other networking events. And Charlotte has a bunch of networking groups. And so I was just going, telling everybody about me, going. And then some people that I met through those, we would like do like one-on-one meetings where we talk more about what our respective businesses do. And so some of those people have sent me patients. I don't know that anybody, well, maybe a couple. So it's not like the people that I met at the events became the patients. It's more so them telling people about it. And that has resulted in patients. I think I've only had like one or two who've been people I actually met at a networking event that signed up.
Mm-hmm.
But, whatever works. So word of mouth is usually what people say is the best way to grow. So if I can get enough other people telling people, then hey, I'm all
Mm-hmm.
for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then social media, I have a YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn. I wasn't on TikTok until the beginning of the summer. So most of my people were coming from YouTube and Instagram, I think. And so now, because I noticed the trend towards people saying they saw me on social media, I've been trying to be more consistent with social media in terms of posting 5 days a week. I try to schedule it out and post like a week ahead of time, usually just a combination of like healthy eating, lifestyle, gardening, spend time outside type stuff, and me talking directly to the camera with health tips.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, as far as the people that you met at the chamber and those other networking events, was there a specific kind of contact that is sending you more patients than others? I spoke with someone recently that said a CPA was sending a lot of patients to the business, to their practice.
There is a dietitian who has sent me a couple of people.
Mm-hmm.
I had a chiropractor who sent me a couple of people. I think everybody else has been kind of sporadic
Mm-hmm.
and like a little bit random.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
interesting. Well, I'm thinking chiropractor and dietitian. I mean, some of them are insurance, will bill insurance, and some are purely cash based. Do you know if the ones who
Mhm.
sent you patients are doing kind of a hybrid or purely cash?
The chiropractor, he does take insurance, but he also has like a reasonable cash price.
Mm-hmm.
And then the dietitian, I think she is probably cash only.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause I'm not 100% sure she's an RD. I feel like she's more like a nutritionist, health coach.
People who already work in a cash, like a cash based kind of business, the people that come to them are
Hmm.
more open to a cash based practice, right? So that
I would agree with that
Mm-hmm.
statement.
Mm-hmm. So
Um,
probably looking for
uh,
people like that is a good thing.
yeah, because I've gotten a couple of calls and they've been like, "Oh, so and so referred me to you," and then I'm like, "Okay, and have you been to the website? You understand the practice?" They're like, "Oh yeah, I want to make an appointment." I was like, "Okay, so we are a membership based practice." Now, wait, what does that mean? Like it happened yesterday, where a dermatologist that I dropped by her office and introduced myself. She recommended somebody. The person called me to make an appointment. I was in a meeting. I was like, here's the link. You can schedule your own appointment. She was like, oh, I tried that already, but it said I needed to pay for a membership fee. What is that? So then I was like explaining. She was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. But this isn't a good fit for me. I'll pass your information on to other people though. I was like, well, thank you for your consideration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, maybe you
Oh,
will be
yeah.
able to find you some other patients. But yes,
Yeah.
that is
We'll see.
that is hard. Yeah. So when you opened, which was only 10 months ago now, who was your ideal patient? Did you have one in mind?
When I opened, I did not have an ideal patient. I'm an internist, so I was like, I'll see anybody over 18. Just come. Through several branding and marketing conversations and then listening to Michelle Cook at the summit, I did over the summer start trying to narrow down and niche down to an ideal patient
Mm-hmm.
whose name is Motivated Monica. So I put some characteristics of like the majority of the patients that I already have are women of color, age 30 to 60, working moms for the most part. And so I put that in the chat GPT and I'm like, define my ideal patient with these characteristics, also somebody who is interested in improving their health and
Mm-hmm.
motivated to make changes, that type of thing. And ChatGPT named her Motivated Monica. And I think Monica was like 42 with two children. She has a job, but she also has like a little side business. High blood pressure runs in her family and she wants to prevent that. She has trouble finding the time to exercise and eat right. Da, 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 da. Monica had a whole profile of characteristics and a little icon picture per chat GPT.
Wow.
So then I'm like, where does motivated Monica hang out?
Yeah.
And then he gave me a list of that. And I'm like, okay, let me start trying to stop into these type of businesses. And now I am like trying to do community talks. So I applied with the public library and I gave them a couple topics like cold and flu season, menopause, what was it? Cold and flu season, menopause, maybe weight management, something like that. And so I'm waiting to hear back from them. And then I approached Orange Theory, the one I actually go to, and was like, hey, what do y'all think of me doing a talk after class, maybe one Saturday? And they're like, oh, yeah, absolutely. And I was like, oh, okay, that was easier than I thought it was going. So that is actually scheduled for about a week from now will be the first one. I'm going to talk about like some tips for staying healthy during cold and flu season. And so hopefully that has a good turnout. And then if it does, I told her we could turn it into like a once a month series of me like just picking relevant topics, or
Mhm.
we could even ask the
Mhm.
like if there's a topic that they'd be interested in.
Mhm. Mhm.
So we'll see. And then I also stopped into like a couple yoga places. Haven't gotten a response from the ones that I stopped in, so I'm gonna try some other ones. But yeah, so that's what I'm working on.
Mhm.
Going to the places where Motivated Monica might hang out.
I love that. I love that. I'll have to try doing that with ChatGPT to see. But that's great. I think a lot of people feel like, oh, Terminator, Skynet, all that about AI, but it can be super helpful, especially if you are a solo practitioner.
I like it for stuff like that. I like it for writing my social media captions. It can also give like content plans. Like if you don't know what you want to post, then you don't want to put the brain power in it. You like, give me a content plan for the next 7 days with this theme or like this style of videos or like some of the things that you like. For me, I film myself doing certain things during the week. Like if I go on a walk outside, I'll take a little video of the walk, or when I'm in the garden, like pruning stuff, I might film that. Or when I cook, I'll film and then I'll tell ChatGPT, like, I already have these videos, make stuff for these, connect it to lifestyle medicine, connect it to high blood pressure or diabetes or something like that. And then flesh out some other things to round out the week,
Mhm.
something like that. And it'll give you details. It's like, here's your script, here's your caption, here's some ideas for the actual video. It even will be like, use warm light, look directly at the camera, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, where am I going to get warm light from? But that's beside the point. So it can do as much or as little as you want it to.
Right.
Now, am I a person who wants my phone listening to me all the time or all of that stuff? Not that portion of AI, you can keep that. But for getting work done, I think it's great.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, you definitely, I think there's so many things that people don't realize that it can do to help you. I have used ChatGPT to help with business planning and kind of narrowing focus of what do we need to do next, which is super helpful. Very helpful.
I agree.
So you mentioned your YouTube. You had that before you even started your practice though, correct?
Yes. So YouTube, I've had for like 5 years. Like during the pandemic, I started gardening. I was living in a townhouse and I had a little patio and couldn't go anywhere. I was in Greenville, South Carolina. They didn't believe in masks and social distancing. And so every time I went somewhere, I felt like people were too close to me. So I was like, I guess I'll be staying home and let me grow some plants. What else do you have to do when you can't go anywhere? And I was like, well, let me show my friends what I'm doing. So I was just taking the videos and putting them on YouTube and like sending them to my friends. And we were just, it was just a thing. And then when I moved to Charlotte, I expanded the garden. I first moved in with my mom and she wasn't doing anything with her backyard. So then I put a bunch of stuff in her backyard. I was like, look at all these tomatoes that I got, blah, blah, blah. And so it was originally just a gardening video. And then I started adding in like cooking. And then I started doing like Wellness Wednesday. Wellness Wednesday didn't really catch on that much. I feel like people were mostly interested in the food. Um, and so I would go back and forth in terms of whether I was being consistent with posting and stuff. And then when I knew I was going to start a practice, I couldn't solicit my patients, but I'm like, they're like, well, you can't tell me where you are. I was like, no, but I won't be hard to find. I'm on YouTube. If you want to follow YouTube, then you'll be able to find me. So some of my people, I think, were following me on YouTube. And actually, one of them, maybe a couple months after I left, commented on a YouTube video, hey, I still want to be your patient. Where are you? And I'm like, well, I can't really tell you that in the YouTube comment.
Just Google me.
So then she found Instagram and she DM'd me on Instagram. And then I was able to respond to her because it's like, I can't put out all your business. And I didn't know if that was a HIPAA violation because comments are public. So then when she sent me a private message, I was able to respond. But it was hilarious because she commented on like 2 YouTube videos. Hey, sign me up, call me. And I'm like, I don't know your phone number. Also, I don't think this is supposed to work like this. But it was really funny.
Yeah, that's great. So, what else have you had time to do now because you're in DPC?
Well, now my garden is much, much bigger. So that is something that I really enjoy doing is like growing my own food because I feel like it tastes better than the grocery store. And I know that I haven't sprayed it with pesticides and herbicides and all the sides. Um, and so I've expanded the garden. I feel like I cook more. I'm in a book club. I was in book club even when I was employed, but I feel like you get more books in. I don't know. I feel like I had fairly good work-life balance, if that's what you want to call it, before. So I feel like everything I do now is just more of the things I was already doing.
Since you're coming up on your year anniversary very soon, in retrospect, I know it's awesome. Is there anything that you did that you thought, if I started over again, I wouldn't do that?
Wouldn't do?
Or maybe I shouldn't have done that? Or is there something in particular you thought, ooh, that was really good? Definitely want to keep doing that.
If I was starting all over again, I would have started collecting my patients' emails or encouraging them to follow me on social media the minute I decided that I was going to leave. Regardless of putting my notice in, I should have been like, hey, I'm thinking about starting a newsletter and maybe sending out healthy eating tips. You want to be on it. And like getting those emails, like if I had come back from the DPC summit and started getting emails right then, I would have had probably 5, 6, 700 people on an email list. But I didn't start collecting emails because like once people found out I was leaving, they're like, where are you going? I'm like, I can't tell you, but if you give me your email, then, after my non-compete runs out, I'll add you to my email list. But I should have been a bit more strategic and started earlier, just saying that I was going to do a newsletter. And then I could have added them to a newsletter and it wouldn't have been like solicitation per se. So I think that would have at least, on the one hand, I'm like, okay, if people want to find me, they can find me. They just have to put in a little bit of effort. On the other hand, it's like, I could have assisted them in that effort, give them a little stepping stone, and then maybe that would have encouraged more people to join. Granted, I am like 30 to 45 minutes away from the old office, so some people might feel like it's too far. But there were a good amount of people who lived in Charlotte, but were going to the doctor in Fort Mill because it was only like Fort Mill's only like 10, 15 minutes from the North Carolina border. And so I think that could have been better. I think I love my space, but if I had been networking before I started, I might have met some people that I could have just rented space in their office because I don't necessarily like my exam room barely gets used. Like, because unless I need somebody to lay down on the table, I mostly just examine them in the office, like sitting in the chair, listen to heart, lungs, check their legs. Like, unless I need to feel your stomach or we're doing a gynecological exam or a breast exam, most of the time we don't even need to go in the exam room. So I could have done this in a smaller space and saved overhead. So networking before opening probably would have allowed me to find somebody because one of the chiropractors I met, a couple months ago, he was like, oh, I have this extra room. Would you be interested? I was like, well, my lease doesn't end in November. He was like, oh, okay, well, it's just something to consider. And then I was asking around, I was like, would you guys take the space? Should I move? And they were like, well, if you have a room in your office that you can rent out, maybe you should focus on that. And that's when I got serious about renting out the room I was using for storage. And I want to say within a month of me putting it up for rent, I found somebody to rent the space. So I was like, should have done that in the beginning. I think those are the couple of things I would change.
Oh, those are great suggestions for sure. Yeah, so your lease is up soon. So yeah, you're just going to stay put then.
I'm not moving. I'm stay put. Now that I have somebody covering a third of the rent, it doesn't necessarily save me money to move in with him. The other thing I was like, well, it would increase my visibility because he has people coming in all the time. But I mean, visibility wise, I'm all over social media. People, I mean, he's referred people to me. So if he had somebody that he thought would be a good fit, I'm sure he'd send them down here. He's like 2 blocks away. So I don't necessarily feel the need to move. And then I also don't want to move at the end of the first year and then the practice grows to where I wanted to grow to. And I'm like, this is enough space. And then I got to move at the end of the second year or just, I want to keep moving. So I feel like I could stay in this space and fully grow the practice to where
Sure.
I want to, and then decide whether I want to move or
Hmm.
not. If I want to continue growing by hiring somebody, then I would move to a bigger space. Or I just might not want to grow anymore and might just decide to stay a micro practice, in which case this space would be a perfect fit long term.
So, do you have any help or is it just all you? Do you have a VA or assistant?
It's just me.
Hmm.
No, I am going to get a VA when I hit 50 patients. That is what the goal that I set. I'm going to get a VA at 50 patients,
Hmm.
and I am not there yet. So it's just me.
And right now, I mean, I know the plans may change, but where do you want to get to? What's your goal right now?
Number of patients wise,
And
probably
that, or
250.
yeah, 250. Mm-hmm.
We'll see. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people are like, oh, 600 patients. That's the magic number. And I'm just like, that seems like a lot. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. Well, 250 was kind of our goal, and we kind of picked that because the average full-time DPC is like 500 is what
Mhm.
most people say. But
Yeah.
I started hitting like 180 and was feeling really busy because I am technically like part-time, and 180,
Mm.
190 started really, it was a lot.
Yeah. 500, 600 being full time. Okay. I don't necessarily want to work full time. I don't
Yeah.
want to be here every day. Like, I love being a doctor. I love my patients. But in my ideal world, I'm only seeing patients 3, maybe 4 days a week if needed. But at least one weekday, I do not plan on seeing patients. And then I feel like another day I would want to just be like a virtual day for urgent stuff. And then it's like an admin day. So really, I only want to see patients 3 days a week.
Hmm.
And so that's not really conducive with 5 to 600 patients.
Hmm.
Also, I like to travel. I like to garden. I like to spend time outside. Like, this isn't my whole life. And so I'm like, I want time to do all the things. We only get so much time here on this earth. Working just for the sake of working is not part of my life plan. Like, I kind of calculate, okay, how much money do I need to live, enjoy life, invest for plan for the future, all that stuff. And with that amount of money per year, taking into account at some point having kids and all that jazz, how much do I need to work for that? Like, I don't need to just work just to make money, just to have money.
Hmm.
I just want to work to live the life that I want to live, which depending on how I'm feeling, sometimes that's working a little bit less.
Well, I think that's a great way to approach how much do you need to make. It's not just like you said, it's not just making money to make money, but you need to have a purpose for the money that you are making, right? So that it has
Mhm.
meaning. So that's perfect. Yeah. Well, is there anything else that you want to tell our listeners, maybe who are about to take the leap or thinking about it?
I would say that my growth has been a lot slower than what I'd hoped for. Like, I'd listened to a bunch of podcasts, read the books, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, okay, maybe I'll grow at like 5 to 10 patients a month and fill up in 2 years. I don't know if I'm going to fill up in 2 years. I hope so. But this year has not been anything like there were some months where I got like 2 to 4 people, and then there were some months where I got 0 people. And so plan for it, like, you can make a business plan and say you're gonna get so many patients a month, blah, 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 but it might not work out that way. So plan for the what if, like, what if you don't grow as fast as you think you are gonna grow? And so for me, what that looked like was even though I had saved for a couple of years before doing this, it was, I think I should get a telehealth part-time job just to give myself cushion. Because I
Hmm.
know I don't want to go back to working an employed practice like in person. But a little telly part-time job to give myself a financial cushion while I am not paying myself, and I don't wanna drain my savings or investments or anything.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I would say make sure you have a plan for that. If you have like super duper large savings or some type of generational wealth to where it's not a worry, then don't worry about it.
Right.
But for all of you semi or semi single people who have bills to pay and nobody to pay them for you, you might want to keep a little part time job or side hustle or something that gives you an income so you can still live life and not be miserable while you do this and not be like stressed out over finances. And then the other thing I would say is that it still feels worth it, even though it's not growing as fast as I would hope. It's still growing. I am making my overhead and not incurring any extra debt. And my patients, they appreciate the style of medicine and being heard and having time with the doctor. And so it's still worth it and valuable. And I've been told by a lot of people I've talked to during networking that this is the wave of the future. Like going back to cash based practices and not relying on insurance and having good relationships with your physician is what people are wanting. It's where medicine isn't going to have a choice but to go with the current environment. And so don't be afraid to take the leap. Just make lots of contingency plans.
Mhm. Yeah, that sounds super smart. Well, I appreciate the honesty because I think certainly there are a lot of people who talk about their successes, which is wonderful, and sometimes people just don't talk about what is really hard about DPC, opening your own DPC or just business in general. So I think it's good to have a balanced view of what could happen.
And then I saw where somebody they talk about there's a couple posts where people go like, nobody talks about the DPCs that fail and like the reasons why they fail. And there's some people who are like, oh, they're failing because they're charging too high a price. And then there's some people who are like, well, they fail because they run out of money. Like if you are just living on your savings and you run out of money and your practice isn't growing that fast, whether your price is $60 or $150, if you don't have any money, then you're going to close your practice and go get a job.
Mhm.
And so your price is your price. You value yourself at whatever you value yourself at. The people who value those things will find you, but like if you're on the higher end, it might take them a little longer to find you. And so, what are you going to do to not run out of money in the meantime?
Contingency, backup, backup plans.
There you go.
All right. Well, I appreciate your time and your honesty, your wisdom. I think you've given us a lot of things to think about, especially when you're starting out. So you've given us great ideas, things to do before you leave fee for service. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. And tell us how people can find you online and YouTube.
Thank you for having me. And I am on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok as Kashiti Long MD. My practice name is Long Health and Wellness. You can find us at longhealthandwellness.com. And let me know if you have any questions.
Yes. Great. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And then I'd like to talk to you again in maybe 6 months or a year just to kind of check in and see how you're doing.
Absolutely. Of course.
Thanks again to Dr. Long for her honest experiences and for telling the truth about what it's like to be a DPC owner and a physician entrepreneur. She is correct. It is hard, it's a lot of work, but it is definitely worth it. I hear from DPC doctors, especially new doctors, that they are struggling, and I hate to hear that. It doesn't have to be that way. And so I created Harmony Ops for DPC to help new and about to launch DPC doctors to help grow their practices and reach their ideal clients, nurture those relationships, and then retain them as patients. We have weekly calls to go through how to use the platform to its fullest extent so that you can reach more people, and also to talk about DPC in general. There's an online community of Harmony Ops users as well to share ideas, the wins and struggles, and again, to just generally help everyone improve their practices. Plus, also included is the DPC Ads in Minutes course that I created to help DPC practices learn how to run meta ads to get more attention for their practices. The combination of the DPC Ads in Minutes plus the Harmony Ops platform is a wonderful way to help increase your visibility and drive more traffic to your website and to learn more about your practice. So go to harmonyopsfordpc.com to learn more and to sign up for a demo, and we can walk through the platform and show you what's possible and how we can help you grow your practice. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode. Thank you for listening to DPC Life. If today's conversation inspired you, hit follow, leave a review, and share it with a friend who's ready for change. Remember, wherever you are in the journey, your DPC family has your back. Until next time, keep building a practice and a life that truly fits you. This show is brought to you by DPC Ads and Minutes and Harmony Ops Health, helping independent doctors like you grow and thrive.